Ambassador, Mayor Crossan, Mayor McBride, distinguished guests and colleagues. I'd like to thank Dawn and the organisers for inviting me to contribute to today's conference in this beautiful setting, spirited in as I am from Donegal's eastern periphery. I'd also like to thank my good friend Aubrey for putting me forward as a prospective contributor, and I'd also like to acknowledge my colleagues Niall and Jennifer from Airporter, who continue to strongly support and advocate our business in the important market in the Northwest. I'd like to talk very briefly here just about some background on Belfast International Airport. Also then to talk about the importance of rebalancing and developing our regional economy. And finally, to get on to the key issue, to talk about the priority and importance of developing international air links into the north of the island of Ireland, and particularly the importance of re-establishing a link from Toronto. So please bear with me, and I'll try and release you as fast as possible for your coffee break. As I say, I am the Business Development Director of Belfast International Airport. I'm responsible for traffic development and also for public affairs and public relations. I suppose I'd start off by just saying that we're in a very good place for attracting business from Canada. We're sitting in an extremely fortunate position in the eastern periphery of the Atlantic Ocean, very well located for business between Europe and North America. That's the global contact. From Belfast International Airport's point of view, the Northwest is an extremely important part of our catchment. You can see there that 5 of the top 12 most populous counties on this island fall in Ulster. So we've over 2 million people who we would regard as being in our catchment right across the north of the island. So we've got a good, strong core market. This is maybe applying a little poetic license, but the population around Belfast International Airport, the core population, is exactly the same by a freak of or quirk of fate as it is around Dublin Airport. So I say that puts us into context in terms of what the catchment is. And also in terms of the size of regional air travel markets in Ireland and the UK, Belfast falls in there as the 6th largest air travel market, just behind Glasgow and ahead of Bristol and Liverpool and various other regions of that nature. We've had in the past a long history of air links with Canada. Indeed, that's an Air Transat Airbus at Belfast International Airport on the day of the Special Olympics, which is why we had the rather large aircraft behind it. Just briefly on the airport itself, we're centrally located within this broad region. As I mentioned earlier, we operate right round the clock, all weather conditions. We've no significant environmental constraints on the airport, and we've got long runways. I think the only longer runway on this island is in Shannon. And we've got cross runways in Belfast, which enables us to operate in all wind conditions. We've got planning permission to grow. Basically, we have a 2,000 acre site, which is a very large site, so we're not going to run out of space in the short term. And strategically, we're an important air cargo gateway for the entire north of the island. In terms of the terminal, in the last 5 years, our owners are based in Barcelona, and they've invested tens of millions of pounds in the terminal itself. Mostly in the departures concourse over the course of the last 18 months. So we've basically reconfigured the entire airport, and I'm quite sure we get a lot of people coming through from the Donegal area, so I'm sure you've seen the changes that have taken place at Belfast International Airport over the course of the last couple of years. Why would you do business in this part of the world? Well, we've got some good advocates. Declan Kelly, the former US economic envoy, was a strong supporter of our activity in the north, and equally a strong advocate of our capacity to develop. So we miss his influence, but I mean, certainly he had a strong influence while he was there, and he had good things to say about us. The Northern Ireland Secretary of State equally believes that we've got huge potential for developing our region as an economy, and obviously that's something that's very important as we emerge into a new dawn in this part of the world. This is probably the most important thing that's happened for Belfast International Airport in the last 6 months. We had a major problem on the air passenger duty applied in London, where effectively it was a £60 tax for long haul travel for economy passengers and £120 tax if you're a business passenger, against a €3 tax in Dublin, and obviously that didn't make flying from Belfast particularly attractive to some of the long haul airlines, but thankfully the Chancellor in his magnanimity has seen fit to reduce the tax in Northern Ireland down to a much more manageable level, and obviously that's something we're working with the executive on now to try to increase the level of long haul activity that we've got. In particular, it safeguarded the New York flight, which we have with United. Lots of good things in the media about the development of Northern Ireland and the prospects for developing the economy in this part of the world, and particularly linkages with North America. And lots of businesses like the New York Stock Exchange who have set up in Northern Ireland over the course of the last couple of years. So we're very much open for business, and a lot of development going on in and around the city. More importantly, and probably more immediately, the opportunity is there to attract a greater number of tourists, and that's what's probably going to drive the economy forward in the short term. And obviously the thing which is going to be foremost in people's minds as we enter now into 2012 and into 2013 in the City of Culture in the Northwest. Aubrey's already mentioned the Gulfies, they're everywhere, and obviously they are a huge bonus and a huge benefit in terms of what we push as our tourism brand. We've even just recently put up with 40 check-in screens in the check-in area, and we've put up a message across all the 40 check-in screens to welcome people to the world capital of golf, so we're not shy. We've had a great success certainly on the MTV Titanic. I'm probably going over things people have already gone over here, but I am leading into the crux of the issue. The Titanic opening, the World Police and Fire Games in 2013, and obviously the City of Culture coming on in 2013. So we've lots of things to harness and lots of things to sell. And indeed, where the airport is, we regard ourselves as being pretty well located and connected to an awful lot of beauty in the north here, where we can really strongly sell a tourism product and a growing and developing tourism product. So how do we build key tourism infrastructure? And that's probably the crux here of where I'm coming to. I'm sorry that slide's a little bit busy, but effectively that's what the linkage is between here and Canada. I think it would be safe to say that for Belfast International Airport, the priority at this point is probably to re-establish a link between us and Toronto. It says there it's estimated that 500,000 people arrived in Canada from Ulster from the beginning of the colonial period to the end of the 20th century. Aubrey used some stats earlier. Just over 4 million Canadians claim Irish ancestry. Interestingly, 2.5 million of those claim Ulster ancestry. So, the flow of people who went out into the Ontario area in particular came from the northern part of the island. Previously, as I say, we had up to 3 airlines serving Belfast, Toronto on a regular basis. Air Transat still continued to serve the island strongly, but unfortunately only into Dublin, and we lost the 2 other airlines due to failure in 2008 and 2009. The linkages remain strong, and the stats illustrate that there's considerable VFR traffic which still comes in from Canada and Toronto in particular in Northern Ireland. It's also the 5th largest interline destination from Belfast for passengers according to the stats that we've got, so it's a very important market and a market with huge potential for us to develop direct air links to. And lastly, and by no means least, there are strong business links, and that's most obviously manifest in the linkage between Bombardier, between Northern Ireland and Canada. You can see there over a period of time, through the last decade, we've had a substantial amount of traffic on the routes between Belfast and Toronto. We, unfortunately, in 2007, 2006, 2007, whenever we peaked, at upwards of 40,000 passengers, the failure of Zoom and then Globespan, which neither of which had anything to do with the Belfast market, I hasten to add, have meant that in the last 2-3 years we don't actually have any direct air link at all. And as I say, that is probably the singular priority as far as Belfast is concerned, to get that link back again. And that's a pretty sad story there. As you can see, there were four different routes operating in 2008, down to 0 in 2010, 2011. So there's a proven market. We're not under any illusion about that. And as I say, it's much easier to push for a Toronto link than it is for some of the more spurious connections that we'd be trying to develop into Belfast. Again, there you can see Toronto's the 5th largest interline destination, and equally Calgary, Montreal and Vancouver all come high in terms of the connecting traffic that's currently going over other airports into Belfast. This again is a sad story as far as Belfast is concerned, but something to work on. That's long-haul access in and out of the island of Ireland. You can see there are currently on transatlantic 95 flights a week going in and out of Dublin, 26 going in and out of Shannon, and we've got 7. So we've got a little bit of ground to make up, and as I say, that's why re-establishing connection with Canada is so important. And that's just another aside. That's one of the other things that we're seeking to develop again. Just to give you a flavour of it, we need to develop tourism-related routes which are going to help people right across the north of Ireland, and businesses and tourism venues across the north of Ireland. And we don't have any flights currently from Canada, as I say. We don't have any flights from Germany. We don't have any flights from Scandinavia, and those are ultimately the markets that we're going to draw tourists in from. So there's some considerable work to be done, and my point would really come down to any assistance that is forthcoming, cooperating with building stronger links and a stronger future for all of us, ranging from the east coast of the north of Ireland to the west coast of the north of Ireland is enormously appreciated, and I'd like to thank you all again.